Let me start with you. How has this complicated matters on Capitol Hill, having conversations with you, with Sahil Kapoor? This is a compressed legislative calendar here going ahead to September 30th when the government runs out of funding. How has this complicated things?
You know, they only have so much time on the calendar, so much oxygen in the room, frankly, and they're really nowhere yet on a Senate health care bill. They're having these closed-door meetings. It's going to take them a long time to hash it out, but there's all this distraction that is taking away from the administration's focus, taking away from senators' focus. It's going to be very hard for them to sort of stay focused, stay concentrated, try to come up with a health care bill. At the same time, they're trying to have a tax bill flow right behind it. It doesn't mean that they can't do it. As long as 50 Senate Republicans stay on board and want to keep the train moving down the tracks, they don't need Democrats. But certainly Democrats are going to do everything they can to keep this in the news, protests, whatever they can do to try to move the ball down the road on an investigation. This is their #1 focus right now for the Democrats.
Shannon, Pettypiece, on the matter of focus, you're across town at the White House. How distracting is this for the team within the administration?
Well, I mean, the West Wing is relatively a small operation, and they can only wage a war on so many fronts. And so you throw in FBI, you throw in a Russia investigation, you throw in calls for a special prosecutor. They can only fight on so many, on so many different fronts. And when you talk about creating distractions, there was this idea that maybe the Comey distraction would sort of die down. But this president seems to have a knack of continuing to create distractions and bring Russia back into the conversation. You played the clips from NBC just a minute ago. That's going to raise a whole new level of questions about well, why did you ask Comey if you were under investigation? Was that an appropriate thing to do? Did you decided to fire him before the Deputy Attorney General's recommendation? Well, why did you even ask for that recommendation? So now all of a sudden we've gotten to another day full of distractions. So when it comes to health reform, tax reform, jobs, the economy, there's certainly people in the White House who will continue working on those things. But at the very top levels of the West Wing, everything is about Russia and Comey and the FBI and investigations at this point.
Shannon, on that note, and again, looking at the headlines coming out of that interview with NBC News, the president saying it was his decision to fire James Comey. He made that decision before he even met with his attorney general on Monday. Are we getting any more clarity from the White House here on the timeline? My takeaway from the press briefing yesterday with Sarah Sanders was this was a confused or confusing timeline in the sequence of events here. Reporters across town, you and others, have been trying to piece together what happened when. What's the White House saying about that?
Well, the daily press briefing starts at 1:30, so maybe we'll get a completely different timeline then. As of yesterday, the timeline was that that the president had doubts about Comey since his election. Those were sort of exacerbated over the past week with his testimony in front of Congress, and that one of the big, Sarah Sanders described it as one of the throwing a piece of dynamite into the FBI was when Comey decided to go above his boss's head and hold that July press conference anyway. So that started raising doubts. On Monday, the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General came to the White House and they expressed their concerns about Comey. The president asked for that to be put in writing. It was put in writing, given to the president on Tuesday, and within hours, the president sent a letter, to the FBI informing Comey that he was no longer in his position. Now, the president's statements on NBC seem to be contradicting that to some point, saying he had already made up his mind that he was going to fire Comey, even before this. So I think like many things with this White House, this timeline is evolving.
All right.